the world of women's hockey, after the decision to merge the two women's professional hockey leagues, there have been concerns on the effect that it could have on the careers of former Bulldogs. So one of them took matters into her own hands. Naomi Rogge, who spent 6 seasons on the ice with UMD, initially signed a 2-year deal with the Metropolitan Riveters, but today it was announced that she will make her professional debut with SDE Hockey in the Swedish Women's Hockey League, where she will join Michelle Lowenhelm, who skated for UMD from 2014 to 2017. Rogge says she is looking forward to the pace of play in the SDHL and the different style of play in Europe. She'll compete in her first preseason game with them on August 17th. You guys, I was speaking to her last week. She's so excited. Former Swede Emma Soderberg gave her all the hot spots where she can go and said, hey, this is your place. You're going to love it. And so I think she feels like she'll have a place home away from home when she's in.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I feel like you could fill an entire sportscast every single night of the year on what former UMD hockey players are doing at the next level.
There's got to be some Hall of Fame with just every little thing they've done.
We were just breeding those pros, those,
I know, we love
those players.
Yeah.
Alexis, thank you.